A top USC administrator reacts after a student sues the university, claiming she was sexually harassed by her professor. Students share why they want the university to do more.
The Russia investigation bombshell. 3 associates close to President Trump on the campaign trail now face criminal charges. We'll have the details.
And Halloween parties kept DPS busy this weekend as alcohol-related transports doubled. We'll hear how campus police are preparing for their Halloween night.
Annenberg TV News is next.
Live from USC, you're watching Annenberg TV News.
Several USC community members say they stand in solidarity with alleged victims of sexual harassment. Good evening, I'm Sophia Bosk.
And I'm Dan Toomey. USC Provost Michael Quick sent a memo out to students and faculty last night addressing the issue. But some say sending out a letter isn't enough. Annenberg Media's Natalie Kalman-Kun has the story.
USC doctoral student Carissa Fenwick says she's cautiously optimistic about the university's actions regarding sexual harassment cases. This comes after she filed a sexual harassment lawsuit last week against USC and Professor Eric Guerrero at the School of Social Work.
I think that the next actions are going to be the true indicator of the university's commitment to addressing this underlying culture that exists to enable perpetuation of sexual misconduct and other abuse of power.
On Saturday, faculty at the School of Social Work responded to the case, saying they remain in solidarity with students facing issues like Fenwick's. For students like Robin Petering, this issue calls for more than just a letter.
We have immediate requests, and those would be for the school, specifically the School of Social Work, to also validate that the feelings that this has impacted our community beyond the people that were immediately involved.
According to Petering, students want to be involved in the policy change when it comes to issues like sexual harassment. That's something Michael Quick hopes to achieve by creating more task forces at USC.
And we need to have those conversations. What kind of education will be the best, educating faculty, educating students and staff, so that we know when these are, we know how to hopefully prevent these things from occurring in the future.
Last night, Quick released a memo saying, "We ask that each one of us take time over the next several days to reflect on our own past experiences and choices, and examine what roles each of us can play going forward that will make USC and our larger society fair, equitable, and free from harassment." While we've seen an increase of reported sexual harassment cases in Hollywood, media, and politics, USG President Austin Dunn says this is an opportune time for people to come forward in solidarity.
There is power in platforms that other people are creating, right? And I think, at least at the very least, it creates a sentiment of solidarity where people can recognize, okay, although I underwent this tragedy, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm alone.
For Annenberg Media, I'm Natalie Kalman-Kun.
Netflix and production company Media Rights Capital confirmed to Annenberg Media that Season 6 of House of Cards will be the last. This comes less than a day after the show's star, Kevin Spacey, was accused of making sexual advances on a teen actor. In a tweet yesterday, Spacey addressed the allegations reported by BuzzFeed News. He said, quote, "I honestly do not remember the encounter. It would have been over 30 years ago, but if I did behave then, as he describes, I owe him the sincerest apology for what would have been deeply inappropriate drunken behavior." Star Trek's Anthony Rapp told BuzzFeed News he was 14 years old and at a party when Spacey picked him up, quote, "like a groom picks up the bride over the threshold," and then laid down on top of him. Netflix and Media Rights Capital would not comment on whether the decision to end the series was related to Spacey's allegations, but they did say they are, quote, "deeply troubled by the news." They also said executives from both of our companies arrived in Baltimore this afternoon to meet with our cast and crew to ensure that they continue to feel safe and supportive. As previously scheduled, Kevin Spacey is not working on set at this time. Spacey is the latest Hollywood figure facing sexual misconduct allegations. Many alleged victims waited years to make their stories public, saying they were afraid to damage their careers. But as Annenberg Media's Brittany Hope shows us, legal obstacles forced many to stay quiet until now.
More women are accusing Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein of sexual assault.
I have been silenced for 20 years.
Actress Rose McGowan spoke out against Weinstein this weekend at the Women's Convention in Detroit. And today, new allegations from dancer Ashley Mathau, who told the New York Times Weinstein sexually assaulted her in 2004. Both women were reportedly paid to keep their allegations confidential.
No more. Name it, shame it, call it out. Join me, join all of us.
Gowan's settlement didn't include a confidentiality clause, but Mathau's did. Attorney Lincoln Banlow says this kind of agreement is common.
It's fairly frequent for somebody to want there to be some confidentiality before they'll enter into the settlement. And perhaps that confidentiality has some value, so more money might be paid towards the settlement to get that confidentiality.
Mathau chose to break that agreement. She told the New York Times she wanted to tell her story, but telling her story might open her up to new legal action. Banlow says if an accuser breaks the confidentiality clause, they may have to pay back the accused. The accused can also sue the accuser for revealing private facts and get even more money. But Banlow says this is more difficult to prove.
It's highly likely a court would say allegations of sexual misconduct by these very high-level executives are matters of public concern.
Banlow says a majority of sexual assault cases are settled, but thinks in the future more victims will speak out.
I just think we're going to see a flood of people getting these stories off their chest and of people saying it's time to inquire about this and do something about it.
A new California law eliminates the statute of limitations for sexual assault cases that happened as of January 2017, giving victims unlimited time to get justice. For Annenberg Media, I'm Brittany Hope.
Thanks, Brittany. Former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort and his associate face charges for working with the Russian government. These allegations are a part of a larger investigation led by special counsel Robert Mueller. Manafort and Rick Gates could face up to 80 years in prison along with millions of dollars in fines. They were both brought into court today where they pled not guilty. They were released on bail later this afternoon. Manafort and Gates are accused of working with a Ukrainian political group linked to the Russian government. They are also charged with making illegal transactions overseas worth up to $75 million. Another advisor to Trump admitted to meeting with Russians in 2016 to receive dirt on Hillary Clinton. Manafort's lawyer defended his client.
There is no evidence that Mr. Manafort or the Trump campaign colluded with the Russian government. The claim that maintaining offshore accounts to bring all your funds into the United States as a scheme to conceal from the United States government is ridiculous.
This morning, President Trump tweeted, "Sorry, but this is years ago, before Paul Manafort was a part of the Trump campaign. But why aren't crooked Hillary and the Dems the focus? Also, there is no collusion." Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders downplayed Manafort's role in the Trump campaign.
It was a volunteer position, and again, no activity was ever done in an official capacity on behalf of the campaign. He reached out and nothing happened beyond that, which I think shows, one, his level of importance in the campaign, and two, shows what little role he had within coordinating anything officially for the campaign.
Manafort and Gates face 12 counts of illegal activity. These are the first charges to be filed under Mueller's investigation of Russian collusion with the Trump campaign.
A federal judge partially blocked President Trump's proposed transgender military ban, ruling it, quote, does not appear to be supported by any facts. She said it is unconstitutional to kick transgender people out of the military or to prevent them from signing up. But she kept in place the part of the ban that prevents the military from paying for transgender-specific medical treatment.
Today, the LA City Council reviewed a report for proposed marijuana law. The social equity program would give equal property as well as, or rather, today the LA City Council, I apologize, would prioritize people who have nonviolent criminal records to participate in LA's new recreational marijuana industry.
The social equity program makes sure that everyone has an opportunity to participate in the cannabis sales, cultivation, and manufacturing. And I think that's going to give a significant benefit to those communities.
The social equity program would give equal property to people from majority, low-income, and minority communities to get recreational marijuana dispensary licenses. The report for the proposed program found that people from these communities have the highest number of marijuana-related crimes. People who have a history of marijuana crime would now be able to legally sell it.
We've been impacted by the failed war on drugs. We've had felonies and all of that. I was blessed to just get my felony. The governor just gave me a pardon for my felony.
The City Council says they will continue working to refine details of the social equity program. They expect to have a final draft of the new policy ready to vote on in a few weeks. Now, safety has been a hot topic at USC since the active shooter scare in Fertitta Hall earlier this month. Annenberg Media's Rebecca Patterson shows us how the Marshall School is handling student concerns.
Nearly a month after USC's active shooter scare, a task force at the Marshall School of Business met to find ways to make students safer.
Even though we do some things well, we're not as prepared as we'd like to be. And so the Safety Task Force isn't a standing committee. It's something that we created because we need to really look at the events of October 2nd and figure out how we can do better.
The task force includes the Associate Dean, faculty, and students like Christopher Vesh, who is in the Army.
Fortunately, I've been a part of active shootings before in the past, and one of the biggest issues that we have is communication.
The committee received feedback from students and faculty in hopes to have recommendations by the end of the semester.
We looked at the list of things from the feedback we got. There are about 90 lines in an Excel spreadsheet, and we went over it and started talking about how can we prioritize.
Now, one of the safety issues that might be a little surprising has to do with the doors. Here at Fertitta Hall, the doors actually open outwards. So students felt like they couldn't barricade themselves inside during the active shooter scare.
We don't know what the best way to set the doors. Are we going to retrofit the doors so that they can be locked? A lot of people don't know that they're locked electronically from Central and Fertitta Hall.
The task force will present their recommendations to the Dean of the Business School and the Provost. For Annenberg Media, I'm Rebecca Patterson.
Halloween parties started early for many students, and DPS says some students were out of control. Find out what they're planning for tomorrow night.
More than 200 people are now infected with the West Nile virus in LA County. That number is expected to rise. Find out why coming up.
And a local nonprofit hit a milestone after moving a family into their new South LA home. The story just ahead.
Recently, our country has witnessed catastrophic devastation. Hurricanes and flooding have upended lives and livelihoods.
Across this great country, Americans have answered the call.
That special calling that compels us, when others are down, to step up and do whatever it takes.
America's at our best when, against all odds, we come together and lift each other up.
Please donate to oneamericaappeal.org. America needs you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Listen, I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
Bye-bye.
Hi. Hoping for a crisp breeze to help keep you alert. Oh, he took a sip of water too. That'll probably help. You were probably gonna turn down the radio too, so you could focus, right?
Probably okay isn't okay.
Right?
If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
I think the water line is what really drove it home. I blew on him.
Welcome back to ATVN. Halloween is a day away, but some USC students started their celebrations this weekend. Annenberg Media's Sonica Bargo is live on Hoover Street, where even more parties are planned. She has more on how DPS is handling Halloween safety. Sonica?
Thanks, Dan. Now, after a weekend of Halloween parties, students are still getting ready for a few more tomorrow night. Now, this house behind me is just one of the houses that's planning a party for Halloween night, as you can probably tell by all of these decorations. Earlier today, Annenberg Media's Addie Stafford spoke to DPS about what they're doing to make sure students are staying safe on this spooky holiday.
Halloween can be a busy time for DPS. Crime logs released today show that alcohol-related incidents and transports were double what they were the last 2 weekends.
We deployed about 12 extra officers, and then LAPD had 6 that were there just for 28th Street. They were there from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. A Halloween weekend is always probably an area where we get more student activity, alcohol-related activity, parties.
But they're not expecting more activity tomorrow night.
We aren't anticipating a lot. It's, for lack of a better term, it's a school night.
Though DPS doesn't seem too concerned about Halloween this year because it's on a Tuesday, if you do choose to have a party, know that they'll still be keeping an eye on you. But it does help if the party is registered.
I think if you register it, I've told officers to be a little bit more willing to work with the person when they've registered the party.
Registering for a party can be done online by filling out a form. Captain Palmer says that when students don't register, DPS will shut down a party more quickly. Senior Bardia Soltani learned that the hard way. He has thrown multiple parties that have been shut down by DPS.
Got noise complaints and things like that. We didn't understand exactly how loud we were being.
Another senior made sure her party was registered, and she took the extra step to speak with her house's landlord.
Oh, it's really important to look in contracts, like with your landlord and your housing or apartment, to make sure that there, whatever might be like said in the contract that was signed off of in terms of parties, you're abiding by.
Palmer says LAPD may contact landlords when parties get out of hand. For Annenberg Media, I'm Addie Stafford.
Last year, DPS did call in extra patrols for Halloween night festivities, but this year, they say they don't think it's needed. But if you are having a party, make sure it's registered and that you've told your neighbors, just to avoid any complaints. Have a great Halloween, everyone. For Annenberg Media, I'm Sonica Bargo.
Thank you so much, Sonica. Health officials say this year LA County has seen record rates of West Nile virus. At least 17 people have died in LA County and 230 have gotten sick. County officials say that's the 3rd highest ever, and the season isn't over yet. According to LA County health officials, those who get West Nile don't show many symptoms, but if left untreated, 1 out of every 150 people may develop serious health problems, including meningitis, vision loss, and permanent paralysis. Those 50 and older with weak immune systems are most likely to suffer these severe effects.
Well, the West Nile virus is not carried by humans necessarily. It must have got here through infected birds. Birds are the natural host of the West Nile virus, and that's the host in which it can be transferred from mosquito to mosquito.
According to health officials, everyone can follow simple steps to protect themselves. Wear bug spray, clear out standing water in yards, repair tears and holes in window screens, and wear pants and long sleeves at dawn and dusk. West Nile virus danger typically ends by the beginning of December.
So now it's definitely getting colder out there, Sophia. Wouldn't you agree?
I would. I had to pull out a sweater today, and I think Lindsay has a little bit more about this Halloween weather.
Exactly, guys. The weather's getting a little bit spooky out there. We were at like 100 degrees last week, back down to pretty normal for LA fall this week. Let's take a look at your current conditions. As you can see right now, it's 67 degrees out. During the peak of today, though, it only reached about 70 and cloudy throughout. Now let's go down and look at the weather tomorrow in Big Bear and Palm Springs. As you can see, it's cooling down there too. 81 degrees in the desert, pretty cool. Going back up to San Fernando Valley, we're seeing it also cool down there as well. Getting cooler near the beaches, even cooler up in the valleys. Fall is here, guys. Coming back down to USC, tomorrow it's going to be about 69 degrees throughout this whole area. Great weather for fall. Bring those jackets out. Now taking a look at your 5-day forecast for tomorrow on Halloween, 68 degrees. If you're planning on wearing some sort of costume, you might want to incorporate a jacket in there somewhere. Going on throughout the week, it's also going to stay pretty cloudy and pretty cool. Remember, Saturday, turn those clocks back. Now, traffic is something that affects all of us here in Los Angeles. One solution, go underground. About a year ago, Elon Musk set about creating a, quote, boring company to dig tunnels under Los Angeles to ease traffic. The plan was to create a more efficient way to dig underground and move cars along roads stacked on top of each other. Yesterday, Musk posted the first photo of the tunnel he's digging under SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne. This comes 3 months after the city granted a permit to build a 2-mile test tunnel into the Hawthorne area. Musk predicts that a tunnel from LAX to the 101 will be completed in about a year.
Well, anything that will bring down traffic prices, in my opinion. Yes?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
If we can cut that commute.
Absolutely. Now, Habitat for Humanity of Greater Los Angeles finished its 800th home today. Volunteers spent the past 6 weeks getting the house ready for Denise Harris and her family. Community members and volunteers gathered outside the Watts home to welcome Harris and her 4 children into their new place. Habitat LA and Delta Airlines partnered on the project, and over 400 Delta employees lent a hand in the construction.
It was a pretty wild weekend for sports, and I know we have a big weekend coming up with Arizona and the homecoming game.
It's absolutely. Nick, you got more news on that for us?
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. It was sure a crazy weekend. We'll take a look at this wild World Series and the X factors for both teams that could clinch a title for LA or H-Town. Men's water polo continues their impressive 8-game win streak by putting up 24 goals against San Jose State. And we'll hear from Clay Helton and Sam Darnold on what made a difference for the Trojans this week against Arizona State.
You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home just in case. Why would you do that?
Probably okay isn't okay. Call a cab, a car, or a friend.
Good choice.
Every year, 40% of all food in the U.S. never gets eaten.
40%. That's almost half the food we produce.
Food waste is a serious problem. It impacts all of us.
And it's expensive. Your family is throwing $1,500 a year in the trash.
We're working hard to put food waste on the chopping block.
And you can do the same at home.
Learn how to cook it, store it, and share it.
Just don't waste it.
Go to savethefood.com.
After 15 years of smoking, Eva Marie quit. There's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
The number 17 USC football team has a homecoming date with the number 23 Arizona Wildcats at the Coliseum this Saturday night. The Trojans moved up 4 spots in the AP poll after thrashing the ASU Sun Devils in Tempe. Determined to shake off the Notre Dame blowout, the Trojans went to work on both sides of the ball, competing in what was Coach Clay Helton called the most balanced game of the year. Saturday was freshman wide receiver Tyler Vaughn's big break as he eclipsed 100 yards receiving and grabbed 2 touchdowns for the first time in his career. Here's what Sam Darnold had to say about Vaughn's postgame.
Tyler's been a huge part of the passing game for a while now. I think just the way he works and the way that, you know, every single play he thinks the ball's coming to him, and I think that's huge. That's a really great mentality to have as a receiver.
Our sports correspondent Julia Poe is here to dive into what changed from South Bend to Tempe. Thanks for joining us, Julia.
Thanks, Nick. The defense was out in full force this weekend in one of the most dominant performances of the season. The Trojans limited Arizona State to 14 points, the second lowest score this year besides that Week 6 drubbing of Oregon State. The defense completely dominated the game on the ground, holding the Sun Devils to 79 rushing yards on the night, and Arizona State didn't fare much better in the air. Linebacker Uchenna Nwosu and defensive lineman Rasheem Green wrapped up 3 sacks apiece as the Trojans terrorized quarterback Manny Wilkins in the backfield. The defense was bolstered this week by the return of 2 key players, lineman Josh Fatu and linebacker Porter Gustin. Gustin has been sidelined since the Texas game, while Fatu missed a week due to a concussion suffered in a car accident. For the USC team, having those 2 players back provided some much-needed firepower.
I think it builds great confidence when you have older kids in there, you know, especially 2 warriors like those 2 kids, and credit them, and they are warriors.
Now, players on both sides of the ball said that this win really felt like a turning point for a team that has struggled to live up to its hype this season. But we're going to have to wait until next week, Nick, with that homecoming game to see if Arizona is able to stop them or if they're able to keep that momentum going.
Absolutely, and they're vying for a Pac-12 championship, so let's see if they can keep this win streak going. And if you didn't catch Game 5 of the World Series, you missed an all-time classic last night. After the Dodgers tied the game at 12 in the top of the 9th, the Astros walked off at home to take a 3-2 series lead back to L.A.
And closer Kenley Jansen gave the Dodgers something to worry about last night. After putting a runner in scoring position, Jansen faced Alex Bregman, who smashed his first pitch right up center field for the game-winning run. Now, Jansen is one of baseball's best closers, and that's really who the Dodgers want in that position. So if he's going to be struggling, the Dodgers could be in trouble entering Game 6.
And I got to tell you, Julia, I am all over the Cody Bellinger hype train. After going hitless in games 1 through 3, Bellinger has lit up Houston, going 4 for 9 with a home run and 4 RBIs, including 3 on a home run last night. If the Dodgers want any chance of beating Justin Verlander in a World Series clincher, look for the 22-year-old to lead the boys in blue. And because of increased production from Bellinger, I see the Dodgers carrying his bat and using their home fans to win a championship in 7 games.
The Dodgers are certainly going to have that huge home field advantage that you mentioned, but with Verlander pitching for the Astros, I think Houston's going to walk away from it tomorrow, but I think we're just going to have to wait to see. It's going to be a classic one.
Can't wait to watch these 2 games. Back to you guys at the desk.
We can all hope for a very competitive series.
Definitely rooting for the Dodgers. A Google Chrome plugin is making it easier to schedule your classes.
Find out what the new features are when we come back.
Don't ignore the subtext. It's on us to intervene in sexual assault. Because we can. Take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Hey, look, it's those guys. Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be?
Go and step out of the vehicle for me.
See ya, buddy. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
Scheduling classes is now even easier for USC students thanks to a special plugin. The Schedule Helper extension on Google Chrome adds several functions to the web registration website, including professors' ratings, highlights, full classes in red. And you can download the plugin on Google Chrome's web store. Thank you so much for watching Annenberg Media. I'm Sophia Voss.
And I'm Dan Toomey. You can watch us on the web at USC Annenberg Media. Good night.